Hey there. Time for my surprise review. The mystery review that I wouldn't tell anyone about. Um, so, as you should know, or if you don't know, I got a Nintendo DS probably about 2.5 weeks ago. Um, yeah, about 2 weeks ago. And, of course, I got a game to go with it. What game is that? Prince of Persia: The Fallen King. I've seen the reviews that it's gotten. Uh, but I'm not going to critique it quite as hard as some of the other big internet, reviewer, sites like IGN and GameSpot and stuff like that. It is completely controlled with the DS stylus. The only time you have to press a button is to take control of the magic of your little ally. Um, so that comes to one of the main complaints I have with DS games in general. If you don't allow like the choice between the DS stylus and actual controls, it drives me nuts. Um, I like games that have the choice. I don't like being strictly limited to the stylus because a lot of stuff you can do, it's kind of convoluted. Every action the prince can take has to be done with the stylus. Uh, moving it across the screen, your character runs. That's a given. Tap it, he jumps. Tap on the edge, he climbs a wall. Tap below him, he grapples. That claw thing down. Um, tap, he attacks. Double attack, slice. In general, everything is done. And considering the amount of acrobatic skill that the Prince of Persia games are known for, and since it's kind of taken from the one that just came out, the newest one from Ubisoft, it's quite a challenge, but they pull it off. Throughout the game, took me about, like I said, about a week to finish, and throughout all of it, I only had like a couple of hiccups with the stylus controls. So they did it phenomenally well. Um, Enough about the controls. Let's move on to uh, graphics. It is a 3D environment, and the cutscenes are done with little 2D cartoonish looking characters and dialogue. That leads to a lot of lag and slowdown in some areas. It doesn't lag, I guess that's the wrong word, but it slows down and it makes it a little bit harder to react efficiently, especially when you get your partner and the prince and traps and enemies and all that going on at once. It slows down, and it definitely seems like it puts pressure on the DS's hardware. Um, if they would have, well, let's see, as you can see, um, the kind of detail, if they would have done a complete 2D environment and the characters, it might have worked better. But since it's a handheld, 3D kind of, it's not bad. Um, let's see. Story. Alika leaves the prince. Um, so the prince is on his own, but he's basically trying to find a way to stop Armin by summoning Ormaz. And he goes to, I believe it's called the City of the New Dawn, or City of New Dawn, and I guess the king there is the king of the Aura of some sort, and he has the power to probably summon Ormaz. Well, when the prince arrives at this city, turns the king's been corrupted, and his right hand man, the magus Zal, has also been corrupted. He thinks that by taking in the corruption, he might be able to control it, which is another useful gameplay aspect. Zal is able to control corruption, so that gets pretty nifty. Um, I'm not going to go too far into the spoilers, but there's about 50 levels, so it's definitely a pick up and play kind of thing. You can sit through and probably play through the entire game in one day, or if you do it in little like hour chunks, it might take a week or a little bit longer. So the length of the game is nice. It's got a decent enough variety of things. Some of the traps are a little bit, you gotta think ahead a little bit. Enemies in the beginning of the game, simple as pie. Really simple, really easy, but then they start upgrading, and then they get really tough. Um, well, not tough, but more time-consuming than actually a struggle to beat them. It's not that hard. Bosses have set attack patterns that are easy to learn once you figure out what to do, and really, it really doesn't change the story too much. If you've played through the game, if you played through the epilogue, and if you pick up this, you're not missing much. The prince is left alone yet again. Uh, Spoiler: I think Zell dies. At least that's the impression I was given. Um, One of the Ura ancestors says something about the prince having awakening powers that are about to be awoken, and then he sets off on his journey again. It's a good kind of like spin-off, but it doesn't really improve upon the story too much. I'm really looking forward to the next installment of the Prince of Persia game. So Prince of Persia 2, whenever Ubisoft, gets done with that. I think they're currently working on Assassin's Creed 2 or something of that sort. Um, so um, it's time to give it a score. Um, as you know, I'm not particularly fond of giving scores out of 10, just because I think each game has to be judged on by itself and not on a universal scale. But I'm going to give it a solid 7.5, and if you really enjoy this game, maybe an 8 out of 10, but definitely a 7.5. Um, if you're a fan of the series, you should pick it up. You should give it a try. If you own a DS, pick up Prince of Persia: The Fallen King. It's pretty cheap, $30. It'll definitely keep you interested. Um, as for replayability, there is none unless you want to, go through it again. But it's definitely a nice little pickup. It's nice. I enjoyed it. $30. It's definitely cheaper than a PS3 game, so I can't complain there. And my recommendation is, if you want to, if you've played Prince of Persia, you've played the epilogue, you want to know what happens directly after the epilogue, or shortly after that, somewhere down the storyline, pick this game up. I recommend you buy it, and hopefully it'll tie into the next installment of Prince of Persia. So that's been my review, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Till later.